Welcome to Earth Archives. We all know that there were countless treasures that disappeared during the Nazi looting during World War II. The most famous and largest of them should be the one decorated with amber and gold in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, Russia at that time. Amber Palace, but this was not written by the Russians. What on earth is going on? Let's talk about this story today. Before the show starts, please help share and subscribe to the Earth Archives channel. Thank you. Once upon a time, there was an amazing room hidden in a corner of the Russian Imperial Palace. Unfortunately, in just a few years after World War II, this room transformed from an artistic treasure to one of the greatest mysteries in history. A priceless treasure whose whereabouts are unknown. 400 years ago, Russia once had a room known as the eighth wonder of the world, the Amber Room. The panels of the room were decorated with shining amber and countless gems, surrounded by decorations carefully carved by craftsmen. Until the start of World War II, the Amber Room was a secret hidden deep in the palace by the Russian rulers. However, after the start of World War II and the Nazi invasion of Russia, the Amber Room has now transformed into one of the most unsolved mysterious cases in history. A Russian treasure made by Prussia. Although the Amber Room is currently known as a Russian treasure, it was not the Russians who built it, but the Prussians on the European continent. At the beginning of the 18th century, the then King of Prussia, Frederick I, called on the architect Andreas Schluter and the Danish amber craftsman Gottfried Wolfram, asking them to create a new building in the summer where he lived. Create a beautiful room in Charlottenburg Palace, which is the protagonist of this article, the Amber Room. The Amber Room, a symbol of good relations between the two countries, was transferred to Russia. However, the Amber Room did not stay in Prussia for long. In 1716, Frederick William I, then King of Prussia, gave it to the visiting Russian Tsar Peter the Great, as a gift to commemorate the good relations between the two countries. This precious gift was brought all the way back to Russia by Peter the Great and rebuilt at the Catherine Palace, on the outskirts of St. Petersburg, Russia. Later, the Italian architect Francesco Bartolomeo Rastrelli was hired. Expand the Amber Room with more candlesticks, more decorations made by skilled craftsmen, and more amber. A room, 6 tons of amber. According to estimates by later historians, a total of about 6 tons of amber were used in the expanded Amber Hall. Taking into account the exquisite decorations and gems in the room, the value of the Amber Hall is about $142 million, approximately Taiwan dollars 3.97742 billion. It also gained the reputation of eighth wonder of the world from later generations. Hidden in the royal family, previous owners have different plans. In the following hundreds of years, the Amber Room continued to welcome members of the Russian royal family one after another, each using it in different ways. For example, the Russian Tsarina Elizabeth used the Amber Room as a personal meditation room. Catherine the Great used it as a space to receive foreign guests. Alexander II, who loved amber very much, used it as a place to collect trophies. Wallpaper disguise failed, the Amber Room was plundered. However, after hearing the news that the Nazi German troops were advancing towards Russia in 1941, the Russian high-level officials immediately ordered the chief art curator Anatoly Kuchumov to dismantle and pack the Amber Room so that it could be transported to the rear at any time. After receiving the order, Kuchumov soon discovered that the amber in the Amber Hall was already very fragile. Easily moving it would probably destroy these treasures. Therefore, he instead ordered the staff to cover the Amber Hall with wallpaper in order to deceive them. The eyes and ears of the Nazi soldiers, but it only took the Nazi soldiers about 36 hours to see through Kuchumov's trick, and then dismantled the Amber Room, packed it in boxes, and transported it back to Königsberg, note, Germany Castle, Königsberg Castle. After that, the whereabouts of the Amber Hall became confusing. Germany once occupied Königsberg during World War II, but it was soon recaptured by Russia and renamed Kaliningrad. Where is the Amber Room? In 1944, the Allied forces jointly launched a major bombing campaign against Königsberg, and the first theory about the whereabouts of the Amber Room was that it had been completely destroyed in the bombing. This view is also the same as that in the book, The Amber Room, tentative translation, published in 2004 by British investigative journalists Catherine Scott Clark and Adrian Levy. No trace of burning, still in this corner of the world. However, Anatoly Valuev, director of the Kaliningrad History and Arts Museum in Russia, disagrees with this statement because no signs of burning amber were found here at the time. Rather than burning it, Valuev believed that the Amber Room had been hidden in the basement of the castle on the eve of the bombing, or had been transported to other places. In other words, the Amber Room has not disappeared, it is still hidden somewhere in the world. The whereabouts become a mystery. In the mine, bottom of the lake, USA, there are different opinions as to where this corner is, ranging from an old salt mine on the Czech border, to a freshwater lake in Lithuania, to even crossing the ocean to the United States. Some people claim that the Amber Room never left Russia at all. Because on the eve of the Nazi invasion, Joseph Stalin, the then leader of the Soviet Union, built a fake Amber Room in time for Nazi soldiers to take back to Germany. The Amber Room turns out to be under the sea. Until recent years, people's enthusiasm for finding the Amber Room has not subsided. In October last year, a group of divers announced that they had discovered the freighter Karlsruhe, which was sunk by Soviet military aircraft off the coast of Poland not long after setting sail from Königsberg in 1945. They speculated that there were many people inside the cabin. The crate with unknown contents contains the Amber Room. Great joy to find, but the halo of the artistic treasure fades. But even if someone actually recovers the Amber Hall, in the mind of Tatiana Suvorova, the consultant to the director of the Amber Museum in Kaliningrad, it will no longer have the status of an art treasure it once was. Amber is a very complex substance. It is very fragile and will change over time. Suvorova further added that the rediscovery of the Amber Room must be a great joy, but it can only be called history. A part of the world, rather than an artistic treasure. Art pieces like the Amber Room, which are made of fragile materials, need to be managed very carefully. They need to be preserved in a museum-quality environment. Reconstruction successful, Amber Hall regains its glory. In 1979, the then Soviet government was determined to rebuild the Amber Room. It invested a total of $11 million in the project, allowing craftsmen to use 86 black and white photos of the Amber Room taken before World War II and the small box of remains of the Amber Room. Rebuild from the foundation. After 23 years of work, the reconstructed Amber Hall was completed and officially opened to the public in 2003, giving people the opportunity to see the eighth wonder of the world.